Have you ever watched a movie or television show and wondered who supplied the props? Well, even if you haven't, can you imagine what that show would look like without them? Today we're at History for Hire, one of the most tenured prop houses in Hollywood's film industry, to meet a prop master, Jimmie Herron, and today he's going to be telling his story.
My name is Jimmie Herron, retired prop master from the motion picture and television industry. I was asked the question, what does it mean to be a prop master, or what is a prop master? Well, a prop master is the person that, when you see stuff in a movie, sometimes you really don't pay much attention to it. But everything you do as a prop master sort of enhances the look of a film. Anything that an actor carries, touches, throws, is considered an action prop. And the thing about it, you have input. You know, you have a visual input. People are gonna see your work. Thousands of people are gonna see your work. I started in the business in 1969. I was the first African-American prop master in Hollywood's Local 44. When I first started propping shows, I basically worked on white shows because back in the 70s and 80s, wasn't a lot of black shows being made. And then I kind of started working on black movies, and I kind of got pigeonholed. But you know, in the long run, I really look back on it now, and I really liked it. You know, I've done a couple of films with Richard Pryor. I did Which Way Is Up with him and JoJo Dancer, The Life Is Calling. I was working with a guy named John McCarthy at the time. I got in with John because I was sweeping in the warehouse one day, and I heard him talking to someone. He needed some literature. He was gonna have to do a Black Panthers headquarters, but he didn't know anything about Black Panthers. So I went to a headquarters and I got some literature, and I gave it to him one day, and he was impressed by that. And so he went to the department and he told him he'd like me to be on his crew. I worked with guys like John Singleton. I did a couple of films with John Singleton. And John inspired me to do some writing too. I wrote, produced, and directed a play. There was an incident I remembered when I was a kid. My daddy took me to a house. It was a duplex house. I was in front playing some checkers with some kids. And in the back, he went next door was a duplex to shoot dice. And then I heard this noise, this rumbling, these guys, they're fighting. Then I heard the gunshots, pow, pow. Then it really got quiet. And then there was a knock on the door. And Chris said, who is it? Who is it? And she opened the door and he fell in bleeding. And she said, Jim, what happened? He said, Chris, the nigger shot me. And I never will forget that. That stuck with me for years. So one day, I was reading an article that a scrapbook that my mother had. And there was an article in there about my daddy, it was a picture of the guy who actually shot him. And the article said, Jim Herron gets shot over a $2 bet. And I thought at that time, man, my kids at school might see this, and man. So that kind of like influenced my life. I said I wasn't gonna be like my daddy. And I said, one day, I wanna get my name in this paper and do something positive so my mother would be proud of me. And years later, I got an award from the Black Media Coalition in Hollywood. And I noticed, I wasn't paying much attention, but they were out there shooting pictures of people that were getting awards. And lo and behold, that picture came out in that same newspaper that my daddy got shot in when I was like 10, 12 years old. In my play, I wrote the line that I wrote was, as a 10-year-old, if you say something about you're gonna get your name in a paper for doing something positive, how do you think that could even be possible? But then I thought, over the years of watching my mother on her knees praying for her family, deep down inside, I think it was divine intervention. So that whole incident kind of pushed me in life to try to strive to do good things and do good things for people. the industry opened up all those kind of doors for me. You know, it's like we have situations where you have good jobs and you have bad jobs, but whatever it is, it's going to come to an end at some point. But I love my job because I love the idea of getting a new script, because now you get a new script and you go through it and then you're trying to figure out where to get this and where to get this. And the thing about it, you have input. You have a visual input. People are going to see your work. Thousands of people are going to see your work. And then on top of that, they see your name. So I'd have my family from Shreveport, Louisiana, and my aunts and uncles and cousins, and that made me proud too, because I'd get phone calls. Hey, I saw your name. I went to the movies and I saw your name, And that was a long ways from being like my daddy. And then I worked on Harlem Nights with Red Fox, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. It was like working with my people it was different. Let me put it that way. It was more relaxing. A lot of jokes, a lot of fun. It was just a great experience working on black films with my people. And I was able to bring stuff to the table because they understood. If I talked to them about a prop or something like that, they could relate to it, We did food sequences and, I knew where to go get the soul food. I'd bring real soul food. I'd go down to the hood and I'd bring collard greens and oxtails and stuff like that. So the actors really appreciated that stuff, working with these kind of guys. And those are the little touches that I thought I was able to bring to the table when I work with my people. I mean, it's like there's some memorable things over the years that when you do props, the nice thing about props is millions of people are watching the show, and there's always something that comes out and you say, well, I participated in that and I had something to do with that. I'm sure there's a lot of people, if you ever seen that movie Harlem Nights, it gets a lot of laughs. There's a scene where Eddie jumps through a window in a flower shop and Arsenio Hall's out there shooting this doggone machine gun. And then Eddie Smith was the stunt guy on the show. He was working as background on that show. And then he comes out with a pistol, pop, pop. And everybody's laughing.
Only way you going home is shot, motherfucker! What the hell you think you're doing with that little shit? Stop it! Stop it! Don't shoot that little motherfucker no more!
And ended up, how that particular scene got in the movie is because during the rehearsal, I had a lot of leftover ammunition. So I was just loading stuff just to, as we call it, just to burn it up. So I had some like quarter loads left from a 38. So I put them in Eddie's pistol. And when they did the rehearsal, Arsenio comes out and he's shooting this machine gun. And Eddie missed his cue, and all he's got is this quarter load. Pop, pop. And everybody started laughing. And Eddie Murphy was directing, and he said, hey, man, that was cool. What do we do? I'd like to use that. I says, okay. So that's how that got in that movie, because of my quarter loads and Eddie Smith missing his cue. He wasn't shooting with the guys. So that was a memorable scene. Harlem Nights. And think about that cast. Red Fox. It was one of the original guys. Red Fox. And then we went from Red to Richard Pryor. From Richard to Eddie Murphy. I mean, icons in the black comedy era, I had an opportunity to work with guys like that and socialize with them, eat with them, talk with them, hang out with them. Matter of fact, I used to stop my son from going to the bowling alley with Eddie at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Best television shows I think I worked on was one called The Briscoe County Jr., The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. It was a Western, but what I liked about it, they pushed the envelope a lot, so they always was inventing something. So you had to be pretty creative on that there. And that was a lot of fun because my son worked with me on that.
There's a horse. You see the saddlebags and the bedrolls, and we have a dummy rifle in the scabbard there.
That's great. And all that was...
That's all props.
Jimmie Herron was the first African-American prop master in the film and television business. How did you get into the business, Jimmy?
Well, back in 1969 it was, they had a program. It was an affirmative action program. It was a minority program where they had to hire a certain amount of minorities. And in those days, they would tell you things like, gee, Jim, be happy you have a job here. You just work in the warehouse and you should be satisfied. But I think I kind of wanted a little bit more than that.
So I said, Jimmy, we got to have a different type of rig. So he came up with this, where it just slips over, and now I don't have any problem getting the gun when I need to get to it.
That is
The shell.
The genius.
And Jimmie Herron racks up yet another first. He and his son Vaughn are the first African-American father-son prop master team.
Hey, man.
Hey, man, how you doing? Good. Good to see you.
I'm glad you made it, man.
Yeah.
They want to talk about our career together.
The history.
The history. Well, one of the reasons I got him to shoot in front of this baseball gear is because as a kid, this is where we spent most of our time together on a baseball field before you got in the industry. I'm gonna go back a minute. Do you remember that time you visited me on Dukes of Hazzard? And we used to feed these horses.
Oh, man.
The craft service guy used to put this sweet mix in a bucket, and he'd come out with that bucket when the horses would see him. They would come to that bucket. So one day he comes to the set.
Yeah, and I'm about 10 years old.
And he picks up the bucket, right?
Yeah.
And he's running. Now the horses are chasing after him. And I'm saying, drop the bucket, drop the bucket.
Oh, the whole camp, I go running through base camp. I go running through where all the trucks are, and the horse just comes right up to the back of the prop truck, and I jump in it, and I still got the bucket. And everybody's like, drop the bucket. That's what they want. That's what it wanted, so. Yeah, but it was amazing to me. You talk about baseball, right? So he basically coached my teams, I should say, since I was 7 years old. And now that you guys are doing this, it takes a long time to do this. And I could never figure out how, when you work 14, 15 hours a day, 70 hours a week in this business, but the old man was at every practice and every game. And he was always there for not just me, but guys that we still know today that are in the business with us. Matter of fact, one of my memories too is I can remember being 8, 9, 10 years old, and you would be breaking down scripts up in the bed, and I'd jump up in the bed with you, and you used to use that red pen and that ruler. You'd be doing that, so I thought it was like artwork, but you were underlining the action props,
yeah.
What it was. So I started breaking down scripts with you and knew what scripts were, and started cleaning these warehouses with you when I was young. So I knew I was going to do one or two things in my life. I put all my eggs in
baseball basket.
In the basket. I said, I'm going to be a prop master like my father, or I'm going to be in the big leagues. Well, the big leagues, I never made it. And I became a prop master. Got in the business in 1991, 92. And I think I got my card not too long after that. I don't know, what year you retired, you remember? Probably 2010.
I think it's been close to 15 years now.
15 years ago you retired?
Yeah.
You could still do it though, you think?
No, I can't. Pops can't do it. I don't do it like I used to, man. I remember.
But it's changed now, though.
Yeah,
I think you can still do it.
You're telling me you got all these guys on these crews, and I guess I can, because back in the day it was just me and you.
Yeah, well, even when we did Briscoe, we had me, you,
Third Broom and Lee
Lazaro, and then on a big day we got to pick up
we had
one
a posse.
other guy.
Yeah, we had a
so
posse.
So we had 4 for 100 background.
Yeah.
And then we had 8 characters. So
yeah,
you're talking about
a lot of work.
112 people for 4 people. Now
that's background and actors.
Now you get 10, 12 prop guys on something like that. You got 100 background and so forth and so on.
What was the most fun you guys had while you were working together on a project? What project was it?
Well, for me, I mean, there's a couple. I think my first one with Lady Boss, obviously because I was so young, but in Lady Boss it was a high-end show, so we were in all these beautiful mansions. You remember that?
Oh yeah, with
we
Jackie
were in
Collins.
Yeah, we were in all these amazing mansions and places like that. So that was rewarding. And then I think
Rosewood
was great.
That was great because by then he was tight with the director, John. They were buddies, so I wasn't getting a lot of grief. You got to understand this. We got a lot of grief through the industry over the years. We got a lot of grief, man. But like I was saying earlier, when you work with your people, sometimes you can be yourself. You don't have to dance to somebody else's tune. People accept you for what you are. And working with John was really good because he respected you. And like I said, when John, he knew what he wanted, and he respected you. I remember producer on Rosewood, we were down in Florida, and most of the crew was old. And John Singleton, and they're around the same age. So he would get Vaughn and say, come on, there's another guy, Paul. There was a commercial.
Oh, Paul Williams.
But anyway, he would tell Paul, come on, let's go hang out, you know. And so the producer comes to me and says, Jimmy, we have a problem. Your son is taking John out. And John's coming in late. I said, John, he's not taking John out. John's taking him out.
Yeah.
And what are you going to say? John Singleton, the director, walks up to you and say, hey, come on, man, I need somebody to come out and hang with me. Yeah, you going to say no?
Yeah, he's got me going to Shaq because at that time, that's when Shaq was with Orlando.
Orlando, yeah.
So we're going to hang out with Shaq and them folks, and we're doing the whole town, man. It was a great time.
Yeah.
That was a great time.
John's a great guy.
Yeah, rest in peace.
At one point, I had the largest black family behind the scenes in Hollywood. That's my legacy. It's history now. I've retired and moved to Belize to start the next chapter of my life. My message to all my grandchildren: I can't promise I'll be here for you the rest of your life, but I can promise I will love you the rest of mine. To all black youth, you have the opportunity for a bright future. Life will have many challenges, but don't get discouraged when you feel like giving up. Remember, the devil's a liar. Read Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 and 8. Keep the faith, willpower, and determination. Put your trust in Christ. Be brave and strong. Believe deeply that you are smart and capable of achieving anything your heart desires. If he can do it for me, a man who grew up in South Central Los Angeles, who graduated from Manual Arts High School, he will show you favor and do it for you too.
Judge me by the